Welcome to a study on quadratic equations. Today we look at finding the y-intercepts as well as the x-intercepts of a quadratic equation. Say you had to plot the quadratic equation. If a is greater than 0, you know your graph keeps going backwards and it going upwards. You'll find that it's cutting the y-axis as well as have 2 points where it's cutting the x-axis. So for you to find the point where the graph is cutting the y-axis, also known as the y-intercept, you find that in the y-axis the value of x in the y-axis is 0. So all you do is substitute 0 in the given quadratic equation. So for example, if what you have is this general form of the quadratic equation, you replace 0 where there is x, then you're going to have y is equal to a 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. And a 0 squared is just 0, b times 0 is just 0, so it's 0 plus c, which is just c, meaning c is our y-intercept. So all the time you've been given an equation, you've been asked to graph it, getting the y-intercept is simply that constant c, but always ensure that what you have is y having the coefficient of 1. Otherwise, say if you had a 2 here, then it means you divide throughout by 2 and your y is equal to, the y-intercept then will be c over 2. So it's only c if the coefficient is y. If you have a term other than 1 as a coefficient of y, then divide that term throughout, it will affect your y-intercept as well. Finding the x-intercept, which is a common exam question given in the examination council of some past papers looked at so far, is finding the x-intercepts, finding the roots. So in the x-axis, y is 0. So for you to find the x-intercepts, all you need to do is replace y with the 0. Ax squared plus bx plus c is going to be equal to 0 is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So this quadratic equation is an equation to find the roots of the quadratic equation, or finding the x-intercepts, the point where the graph is cutting the x-axis. So you will solve this equation using the quadratic formula x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And this quadratic formula is always provided for by the examiner. On the very first page, when you flip your page, all you have to do if you find the question is copy it down, then make the correct substitution. So we have solved the equation 3x squared minus x minus 5 is equal to 0. So give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. It's been equated to 0, so it's as good as they're asking you to find the x-intercept or the roots of the equation. So the formula which we use is x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So exam questions provide this equation already. All you have to do is copy it down and make the substitutions. So let's write down our a, which is the coefficient of x squared, is 3. Our b, the coefficient of x, which is negative 1. And our c, the last term there, together with the sign, is negative 5. All we do now is substitute. So we're going to have x is equal to minus, you open your brackets. So it's important to have your substitution in brackets just in case there are signs which have to multiply each other, because most times we forget to do the multiplication if you just plug in the values as they are. We have b is minus 1 plus or minus square root negative 1 squared minus 4. Our A is 3 and C is minus 5. Over to A, our A is 3. So that we can have x is equal to negative times negative 1 will give us a positive 1 plus or minus negative 1 squared is positive 1. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 times negative 5 will give us a positive 60. Over 2 times 3, that will be 6. So we have 1 plus or minus 1 plus 60 is 61. Then we get the square root. The square root of 61 is 7.8102. So again on this answer, if it's a decimal number, copy at least 4 decimal places. You can be more than 4, not just less than 4. You can copy the whole lot, but don't round off already. Over 6. So what this means is you can get our x by adding or subtracting. So write it down: 1 plus 7.8102 over 6, which is equal to, let me write it here, which is equal to 1.4684. That's before you round off, and this is approximately 1.47, because the question says correct 2 decimal places. So we have that correct 2 decimal places. Or it's plus or minus. What we've done is addition. Now we subtract it. We're going to have 1 minus 7.8102 over 6. And if you write this one down, at the end you round it off to negative 1.1350, which is approximately negative 1.3. The number after 3, 1.1. Just rub that one out. 1.14. So it's correct. It's important that you make the correct round off, because that will affect your answer. So your two possible answers, 1.47 and negative 1.14. For our second example, well, let's rearrange it so that we can have equal to 0 this side, because that will be our m all the time when you've been given an equation which shows you that it's a quadratic equation if you make the rearrangements. So you're going to have p squared minus p, subtract 4 on both sides, so 4 comes outside, it's minus 4 is equal to 0. So what you have here is a quadratic equation. It's equal to 0, meaning you're finding the roots or finding the points where this is cutting the x-axis. You're finding the x's. So straight away you get your equation from the page, from the cover. It's going to be x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So you just copy it down from the examination paper, then make the substitutions. So your a coefficient of p squared is 1, and your b the coefficient of p is -1 and c is -4. Making the substitutions, 1 to find p. Notice that our equation just has p and not x. So we're going to have p is equal to minus, our b is -1 plus or minus the square root -1 squared minus 4a is 1 and c is -4. So I'm getting the square root of that divided by 2a, and a is 1. We simplify that one. We're going to have p is equal to negative times -1 is 1 plus or minus. We get the square root. -1 squared is 1. -4 times 1 is -1. -4 times -4 then will give us +16 over 2. And this will simplify to 1 plus or minus the square root of 17 over 2. And this is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 17 is 4.1234, 4 decimal places or more. That's what is required over 2. So what this means is our p is equal to 1. We add, then we subtract, plus 4.1231 over 2, or 1 minus 4.1231 over 2. Then the left side is equal to, we're going to have 5.5616 over 2, which is equal to 2.5616. And the question says correct to 2 decimal places. So now let's round off. 2 decimal places will cut here. So we're going to have 2.5. The one is surely less than 5. We don't do anything to the 6. We leave it as it is. 2.6. So we found one of the x's. Or this side, if we subtract this 2, we get negative 3.1231 over 2. And this will give us negative 1.5616. We are cutting there for us to get 2 decimal places, and this is approximately negative 1.56 as your answer. So you would have found your solutions. And interestingly, all this gives you 5 marks, and those are very good marks to earn for one particular question. Thank you.